tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're doing at the moment?
Who you are? It's always an interesting question, right? Well, let's maybe start where I am. I'm in Portugal right now, which is, I think, the origin of my current journey, I would say. So I bought together with a few friends 5 years ago. I bought parts of an abandoned village here, which we have basically been building up with the idea to start like an eco-village community. And about 3 years ago, we had the first two houses fixed up. So at the same time, while we had the village project, I was working for different social businesses in Germany and the Netherlands. Most known will probably be Fairphone. And so I was spending like 1 to 2 months a year in Portugal, my holidays fixing this up. And 3 years ago, we had the first house fixed up. So we have one in water, electricity, kind of jumped from the 16th to the 21st century. And that caused me to start looking at the land, because we have 2 hectares of land as well. And then I started first reading about permaculture and then about regenerative agriculture through Richard Perkins, who's one of the leading regenerative farmers in Europe. And that was, I think, one of the biggest mind shifts that has happened to me in the last few years, because I was completely blown away by the fact that we know about this way of doing farming, and that there's also scientific research about it from Wageningen University since 20, 30 years already. And we're not doing it. And that was really weird for me, because agriculture is one of the biggest emittents to climate change, with 25% of all emissions. And through regenerative agriculture, we can not only produce great food and heal local ecosystems, so we can also take carbon out of the atmosphere and through the photosynthesis of plants and roots store it in the soil, which is right now one of the best ways that we have for getting rid of carbon. So that's kind of what put me on my current journey of figuring out why this is not at scale at reality and how we can make it reality at scale.
Wow. So, why is it, do you think, that regenerative agriculture is not the mainstream?
Um, well, there's many angles to this. Basically, the first step for me and my co-founder Ivo, who I luckily knew through Ashoka, which is like a network of social entrepreneurs, and who came to the same conclusion as me. So when we sat in Berlin 2 years ago, both saying, hey, if we don't fix climate change, then everything else doesn't really matter. And regenerative agriculture looks like the best solution that we have right now. So let's dive into this. We started basically visiting farmers. Some of the few regenerative farmers, I think back then it was less than 1,000 regenerative farmers in Europe, but no one really knows because there's no real network. And they basically always gave us the same 3 answers. So the first issue which they're having is access to knowledge. So as it happens, if you study agriculture in Europe, definitely in Germany, but I think it's the same anywhere in Europe. Germany, I know the best. So you do not learn about regenerative agriculture. You do not learn about the possibility of not plowing. It's already revolutionary if they would tell you that you can't use pesticides. So organic is still kind of like the alternative thing, even though it's nowhere nearly as far as it should go. And there's manifold reasons to this. I mean, this goes a lot into lobbyism, into big pharma companies. It would take a whole own podcast to dive deep into that. But the result of it is basically that all the people which are currently practicing regenerative agriculture either took a course of like a weekend or 2 weeks or so, and then just did trial and error and paid a lot of money for that and paid a lot in making mistakes in the beginning, or they go through hundreds or even thousands of hours of YouTube videos. So not really an efficient way of learning. And then, so this is the first problem, which we are tackling with the Climate Farmers Academy, which is basically a free collection of knowledge on regenerative agriculture, which you can find on our website, and which anybody can basically read, and which we keep on growing, and where we ask people to contribute. And we have amazing feedback from other people that are just passionate about a topic like hydroponics or agroforestry or black soldier flies, and creating content for free together with us. And we're also doing skill calls with farmers, where we basically invite an expert like Richard Perkins and then 30 farmers on a certain topic, and then have the farmers exchanging stories with each other and basically learning from each other in order to avoid that people are doing the same mistakes. And then the second issue that we're having is basically appreciation for farmers, because I mean, if you look at society, then farmers are producing the food which we need to survive. But if you go in the context of a bar or like a dating app or anything like this, a farmer is not really in the high ranking professions. If you tell someone a farmer, then it's not really like, oh, that's really sexy. And we think that's wrong. We think farmers are the backbone of our society. And that's why we started the Climate Farmers website, where we try to outline why we believe that farmers, and especially regenerative farmers, as we call them, climate farmers, are the heroes of our times. And then we also highlight and profile these farmers on the website, so people can see examples of people that are doing this. So that's the second issue that we're trying to tackle that way. And then the third issue, and probably the biggest one, is the assessment of ecosystem services. So the problem is, in the science world, we know that if you're doing regenerative agriculture, you're increasing the water quality, you're increasing the biodiversity, the insect population, and you're storing carbon in the soil. But we only know this as a general concept. We don't know this broken down for farms. So for individual farms, we cannot really tell exactly what their output is. And that's what we're working on together with the ETH Zurich, with the Crowther Lab, and with remote sensing technology, where we basically, through the remote sensing technology, we can assess the growth of plants above Earth, and can from that stipulate also the growth below Earth. And then together with data input that we get from the farmers, we can make an assessment of the increase in carbon over the next few years.
Wow. Well, all the work you're doing sounds amazing, and I'd love to talk to you more another time. I have a small garden, so I'm just learning like a very small scale version of regenerative agriculture. So you're in Portugal, and obviously, from what I understand, with climate change, this is a country that's going to experience more desertification and hotter temperatures. So, where you are now at your ecovillage, how are you preparing for these changes?
So, well, the preparation for the changes is that we're not in Alentejo, which is one of the most popular areas in Portugal. And it's a very beautiful area, but it's an area that's already getting affected by climate change a lot. And we're working with a lot of farmers in Alentejo to prepare them for our own village project. We went to central Portugal. So we're close to the Sierra Estela mountain range, which is about 2.5 hours north of Lisbon. And we do not really have that issue. So we have a river going through our village, and we have about 180 days of rainfall a year. So people always think of Portugal as hot and dry, which is true for the south, but it's a very long stretched country. And northern Portugal is actually wetter than some regions in Germany and in the UK. So luckily where we are, we do not have this. We have the issue of forest fires. So the summer months are super hot, and it doesn't really rain in June, July, August. But then in September, October, it starts picking up. And then January, February, it's just pouring down rain every day. So we're a little bit better prepared for that. But on top of that, we're also planning an food forest basically in autumn, which is the best period to plant because trees need water in the beginning to grow. And we're planning on rewilding a lot of it because we had a forest fire going through. So a few million trees around us died, and we're planning on step by step recreating a forest again.
Wow. And so, yeah, can you tell me a little bit more about where you are and some of the challenges you've had in building this place?
Well, I guess the main challenge for me was time. That's what I have to say. Like, because I always had a different job before, and going to the office and having it mandatory to be there. And I have to say, COVID in that sense definitely changed some things because it enabled me to do my work from Portugal, and that definitely yeah, enabled to do more things here. And now we're also in the process of growing the community more. So a few more friends are joining. And I think that's one of the most important things that many hands do with little work a lot. So yeah, I think that's the best tip for people that want to start communities. I think make sure that you started with people that you know very well, and make sure that you started with sufficient people, and also with kind of having the tasks separated so that you don't all have the same expertise, but that there's different expertises coming together. In the end, building a village, building a company, it's kind of the same thing. You just get people together in order to build something together.
And yeah, you were talking about farmers and the image they have. And interestingly, just yesterday, I was watching something about how, farmers often struggle with mental health issues. And somebody in Wales had actually just started a free, like, helpline for farmers to call and talk to someone. Uh, so, in your experience or in your knowledge, from all the farmers you speak to, is that an issue, or does having a community help to offset that?
I have to say my experience there will be very different because I'm mostly speaking with regenerative farmers and they're all very happy. Like the thing is, regenerative farmers get into this mostly for intrinsic reasons. Like there's no financial incentive for them. There's no, it's a very hard step to take. So when they're doing this, then they're doing this because they really want to be doing this. And this is something that really empowers me as well when visiting them, which always gives me a very strong energy boost for climate farmers. Because every time I go there, I'm just falling in love with the person that I'm meeting. And I'm always thinking, wow, I'm so blessed in my job being to help these people, because it's all people who have a very strong connection to nature and who really connect with the soil and with the land around them, and who just get a lot of pleasure out of growing the fruits. And also the food is just incredible. Like tomatoes, cucumbers, any vegetables from a regenerative farmer, it's going to blow you away. So these people, they eat great food. They usually do a project with a lot of passion, and they often also see the results. So I think regenerative farmers are not facing a lot of the same issues that conventional farmers are facing. They're facing other ones, mostly around financing, because financing and subsidies are giving out based on size of the farm in the European Union, which is a big problem because it doesn't matter how you treat your land there. And a lot of regenerative farmers, just because it's a lot more intensive, the farming, they have smaller farms. But generally, I did not have the feeling that depression or unhappiness was a big problem among the regenerative farming community in Europe.
Yeah, that's really good to hear because it's more about love, right? And
Yeah,
I also noticed on your profile that you're a co-founder of the Love Foundation, and I wanted
yeah.
to ask you, yeah, I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I always say Climate Farmers is kind of my second life project, and Love Foundation was my first life project. So my passion next to nature is music. And I was studying in Maastricht in the south of the Netherlands, and there was just no good nightlife existing, in my opinion, at least for the kind of music that I listen to, electronic music. And so I started organizing parties during my studies. And then I did my exchange semester in South Africa. And that was another point that really impacted my life, because it sounds always so cliche, but it kind of highlighted the way how privileged I am with growing up in Europe, and also how much money and happiness are not connected to each other, because people have less, but they feel substantially more happy. And one of the things that I returned from that was organizing a conference on social entrepreneurship. So I got in South Africa through a TED Talk in Cape Town in 2010 into social entrepreneurship. And the conference was called How to Do Well by Doing Good. And at that conference was Benjamin Adrian, the founder of Viva con Agua, which is an NGO in Germany that is engaging young people in order to fundraise money for water projects. And me and a very good friend of mine, with whom I was also organizing parties, we got very inspired by that. And we decided to basically organize parties in the beginning for Viva con Agua in order to fundraise money for them. And this went really successful. And then, so we had the party sold out. And then a friend of ours made the logo. He's an artist from Amsterdam, and he made that logo basically. Uh, and we really loved it. So we put the logo on 50 t-shirts, and we sold the t-shirts. And then that was sold out twice as well. And then people started recognizing each other on the street in Maastricht from seeing the parties and from the t-shirts which they got there. And then people started talking to us and being like, hey, why don't you start a foundation? And then the friend was like, I know a notary that can do it cheap. And then we started a foundation. And then things escalated because my co-founder from Love Foundation moved to Santa Cruz in California. Someone else that was active moved to Perth. I moved to Amsterdam, and we all took the idea with us. And that's how the whole concept of Love Foundation started, where we basically say if you were active for at least 6 months in one of our cities, then you can take the seed with you and you can plant a new Love Foundation seed in another city. And that way we grew relatively randomly to, I think, more than 30 cities worldwide. And some cities are organizing events for a year or for 2 years. Some are doing amazing transitions of generations when they're leaving, when they're working. And before COVID, we had about 500 people active worldwide. And the craziest thing about it is everybody does it for free. So all the artists are donating their fees. All the people that are organizing are donating their fees. Everybody just does it out of love. And through that, I found an amazing network of a lot of friends. A lot of the people with whom I bought the village in Portugal is also people from Love Foundation. So it's kind of, I always call it the asshole filter of my life, because we seem to be attracting amazing people all over the world. And some of the people in Climate Farmers now, actually, almost half the team is also people that I used to work with in Love Foundation. So and now I'm handing it over to the newer generations, to younger people, basically, because I want to focus my energy on Climate Farmers. but I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's gonna keep on being nice.
Oh, great. Well, it sounds like, yeah, doing something for love is a common theme for you, and that you're a
Yeah.
very self-starting kind of person, right? Who's
Yeah.
got ideas coming all the time. So what's your vision for the future? Where do you hope all of this is going to go in the next few years?
So we have a pretty clear goal. We like ambitious goals at Climate Farmers. So our goal is in the next 3 years to scale regenerative agriculture from 0.001% to 10% of all farmers in Europe. And that's what we're working towards. And we're working on several angles there. We're in conversations with the European Commission. We're in conversations with the German Agricultural Ministry. We have a partnership with Google now through the Google Impact Challenge. And we're basically going to dedicate everything to making that mission a reality. And once we have that, then we believe we have a snowball running, because after the transition to regenerative agriculture is a difficult part, because you need, if you're a conventional farmer, you need to take that step out of the system, which can be very scary. You need to have investment costs. You need to push through. You maybe need to talk. You maybe have neighbors which are saying, you're crazy. What are you doing there? You need to break with traditional systems, which is a very hard step to do. And we hope that the more role models we're creating and the more we're showing that it's actually working, especially also in regions like southern Portugal and like southern Spain, which are already suffering from climate change, or also like eastern Germany, where we also already see the effects. And the more we can show that it works, and the regenerative farmers are more climate resilient and are also more profitable while we generate a local and global ecosystem, then we believe more farmers will follow. So as Climate Farmers, we're trying to do the push to show that it works, and then we hope that the snowball is going to run by itself. And at the same time, we're building the infrastructure to make that, by making the knowledge available, and by hopefully also managing to funnel the funds from the European Union in terms of subsidies in that direction.
Great, great. So there needs to be some political pressure as well on the European Union then, right?
Yeah, political media pressure. I mean, there are open people. So as everywhere, there's good people, and so we have some open ears in the European Commission, and we're in talks, and we believe they want to do the right thing. We just need to help them by giving them quantifiable data that shows the impact of regenerative agriculture.
That's great. And for somebody who may be watching this and they're a, mainstream farmer, or however you'd say it, and they want to look more into regenerative agriculture, what would you recommend as the first step, just to get in touch
Get
with
in touch with us, and we will help you along the way. We're doing that already right now with several farmers in Germany that have contacted us, and we're basically helping them with the transition. So we're making a plan together with them what regenerative agricultural practices would make sense in their local context, because that's a very important thing to mention. Everything always needs to be adjusted to the local context. There's no universal recipe which you can use everywhere. You always have to see how things work on a local level, and we're helping them with this, and we're also trying to help them with finding financing for making this transition possible. So if you're out there and you're watching this and you're curious about regenerative agriculture, especially if you're already a farmer, please get in touch, and we will do our very best to help you with that transition.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing this with me and for doing this work. It's very, very important.
Cool. My pleasure.